Okay, gamers, we are here on December 31st, 2024, and it is time to do a tier list. In this last year, we have streamed in 111 categories on Twitch. Now, I've also streamed them on YouTube. However, because Twitch has categories, it's an easy way of keeping track of how many games we played this year. And I have prepared a tier list. And here are the tiers. The S tier is what did they lace this with? This means not only did I finish this game, I kept playing it. Maybe I played it over and over. Maybe I went into New Game Plus. But it's often, these are the tens or hundreds or thousands of hours in a game and I cannot put it down. Next up is finished it and I loved it. But then I stopped playing. You know, I finished it and I loved it. All right? Finished it, it was fun. Finished it. Didn't finish it, but it was fun. Maybe just a time issue. Maybe I was like torn between two games and that's not the one I chose, but I had fun, but I did not finish it all the way. Didn't finish it because of some negative reason. Early access. Now, early access, I will try to say exactly where I would have put it if it was a finished product, okay? But early access, I don't think it's fair to grade a game based on its early access because I might give it a lower grade than what I would have if it was done. So, first off, let's start with the game I'm most known for, which is Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 is the game I'm most known for. Guild Wars 2 is the game I found success on as a streamer, as a content creator, as a guide maker. That's the game I took off on. I still love it. To me, this is still my favorite MMO. That will vary based on who you ask. You know, there are people that love World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy, whatever. This is still S tier for me. Now, do I think the brand newest content that came out in 2024 was like top tier for Guild Wars 2? No. I would say that for me, Janthier Wilds was probably like here. Maybe like low A, high B. However, if I'm grading Guild Wars 2 based on just everything I played this year, it's still going to be S tier for me. I still love it. I still can't put it down. I'm still playing thousands of hours in it, you know, so that hasn't changed. And some of these games did not come out this year. Some of these were older titles, but I played them this year. So I'm not grading them based on what came out in 2024. I'm grading them based on what I played in 2024. Okay, next one. Disco Elysium. This, for those who haven't seen it, is a story-driven game. It is fully voice-acted now, but there is a lot of reading, a lot of talking, but it is incredible storytelling. And you basically play a cop that took so many drugs or got so drunk the night before the game starts, he forgot he's a cop, and you're just like shambling around in an absolute mess, and you find a guy that you presume is your partner and start solving a murder with him. And it is just, it's incredible storytelling. The basically everything that you read and everything that is audio is amazing. The visuals for me are fine. They were fine. So I would say I finished it. I would say low A, high B tier for me. I'll be generous and put it here. I'll say I love the game, but I do not have any intention of playing it again. It was a very long game for like a single playthrough, and I'm not really itching to do more of that. So on that note, let's find another great one. This one I just finished last week. We made, in the last year, a game recommendations webpage. And the game recommendations webpage allows people in the community, whether they watch me live, whether they just watch the recorded stuff later on, whatever, to vote on this webpage. And they can basically go here, search for a game and add it to the list, or add a vote to games already on the list. And Cyberpunk was the game with the most votes for a long period of time. And I started playing Cyberpunk simply because the community asked me to. And I was like, okay, it looks fine. It looks like something I'm willing to try. I was not super excited about it. Boy, was I wrong. That was amazing. I think I'm going to say low S tier. It was so good. It was good enough that when I found out that when you finish the main quest, that the story ends, I stopped working on the main quest to do every side quest I could find, which was like 140 side quests. Then I finished the main quest, and I plan to play it more off stream. That was a really freaking good game. It was like, if it's basically sci-fi Skyrim. That's the simplest way I can explain it. It is a large open world. You can solve problems with many skills. Maybe you can do a strength check to tear a door open with your mechanical arms that you shouldn't be able to get into. Maybe you can use your intelligence to just hack the door and make it just open for you. You know, there's all kinds of crazy stuff you can do. And since people have machinery parts in them in this universe, hacking is basically magic in the game. Like, you can, like, hack someone and make all the grenades on their belt just detonate. Problem gone. You know, like, stuff like that. Like, there is some crazy, crazy stuff you could do. The storytelling was phenomenal, and it left me just itching for more. I played the game, the DLC, did all the side stuff I could find, and I'm probably going to play it again. It's also a choices matter game. It's one of those games where there's many endings to many quests. Like, many of the quests, including the main one, have multiple endings based on the choices you make. So it was really, really good IMO. Okay. Next up, let's see. Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I'm going to say I finished it, and it was fun. It was fun. It was all right. I would say Assassin's Creed is not a franchise I'm passionate about, but I tried it. It was pretty good. It was pretty long for what it was. I did not finish all the side content. I just kind of focused on the main quest, and it was still an incredibly long game. But it was enjoyable for what it was. One of my main memories is one of the final fights in the game I had was Medusa, and my God, they did Medusa dirty. That was just so disappointing, the way that they had Medusa in the boss fight. But, like, the rest of the game was pretty good. So I enjoyed it. As far as, like, what's the gameplay like, it's like every other Assassin's Creed game. You can be sneaky, you can just run up to people and attack them in the face and stab them whatever way you prefer. But yeah, it was I've played Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and Valhalla. And you know, obviously 2 of those are much older than the others. I think Valhalla is probably my favorite one, and then Odyssey second of the 4 that I've played. You still haven't done the Atlantis DLC? That is correct. I have not played the Atlantis DLC. All right, Brotato. I didn't finish it for negative reasons. I played Brotato on one stream, and afterward, I got hit with, it was either 7 or 11 copyright claims because of the music in the game. Like, I got slammed. And I was like, all right, this game was cute, but it was not so good that I'm going to let them just attack my channel every day I play it. So for negative reasons, I'm putting it there. Now, that's as a content creator, not as a gamer. As a gamer, it was fine. I played it one day, so I don't know, maybe like 5 hours I played it. I would say to me, it felt like I was playing God of Weapons with worse graphics. Literally felt like the same game, but worse graphics. However, I think Brotato probably came out first, so, you know, it's fine. I'm just, in my own personal experience, that's how it felt. Let's see. What's another one? A Quiet Place. Now, during Halloween, we usually play a lot of scary games. There's quite a few in here. Quiet Place, The Road Ahead. All right, now here's the thing. Scary games to me aren't really fun. I kind of just play them because my audience enjoys watching me suffer. However, the story in A Quiet Place was quite good. And it was also a choices matter. Like, there was many different people that you were kind of bouncing between. And they could, wait, I'm sorry. Right now, I'm confusing A Quiet Place with Until Dawn. Okay. There's one main person you play in A Quiet Place, and it is a game. There was a movie as well. I still have not seen the movie, but there's a lot of tie-ins to the movie in the game that people pointed out to me as I was playing it. In Quiet Place, the whole thing is the game picks up your microphone. So if I was noisy in real life, they would hear me in the game. So I had to be quiet during those moments, and chat thought it was funny. They were trying to jump scare me, and if they scared me and I just breathed wrong, the monster could hear me and stuff like that. And the whole thing was get through the game and be quiet. Which at some moments, some people were like, this is boring, you just tiptoe everywhere. But at the same time, that was kind of what you were supposed to do. But it was fun as an entertainer. I would say, in total, my experience of it was I finished it and it was fun for a horror game. Definitely not itching to ever play it again. It was just like a for Halloween thing, and it was pretty good for what it was. I will say I didn't care for the ending. It felt very lackluster, but the journey to get there was enjoyable for a horror game. Okay, so I was accidentally starting to give you guys a description of Until Dawn. Until Dawn is another horror game that we played for Halloween. And Until Dawn, you play a bunch of different characters. And the story in that one was quite good. I was engaged in the story. There was occasionally quick time events, like it would pop up and be like, yo, do you go left or right? And you had like 3 seconds to pick, and if you didn't pick in time, it just did one randomly, and people could die. It was a bunch of stupid teens, and you were controlling them, and your control would bounce between the different characters, and you would make decisions. And I got, I think, all but one of them out alive. I think one of them died. And it was like a very fast decision, and I clicked it, and I'm like, wait, no, that was bad. And then, yeah, they were gone. It was really quick. So that one, I would say the storytelling was good, and it kept me engaged. Again, I'm not even wild about horror games, but I'll say it was fun, and I finished it. Which was the one with Rami? I believe that was the Dark Anthology. Where is that? Right here, House of Ashes. House of Ashes, same as the other. This one is also a horror game that we played for Halloween. Dark Anthology House of Ashes is one where you play some military guys. They get sent to, it was somewhere in the Middle East. I don't remember the exact location, and they're going there to do army stuff. And they are fighting some local freedom fighters that are there. And the ground gives way, and they fall into this like ancient tomb, and there's like monsters in there. And your control is bouncing between different people that are in the American military, as well as one guy that was in like the freedom fighters. Someone in chat said it was Afghanistan, and you are trying to get them out alive, and your decisions can get them killed. I definitely did not get everyone killed. There's apparently a way, if you make the perfect decisions throughout the whole game, to get everybody out alive. But again, it was engaging as a story. Again, as a horror game, which isn't my favorite genre, but for what it was a decent story. I will say it was definitely lower tier than these. These were definitely more interesting than that one. So I'm going to put that low B tier. Let's see. Devil May Cry 5. I had never played I've never played a Devil May Cry game before this one. And I don't remember under what circumstances chat convinced me to play this. I will say it was just stupid fun, though. It was stupid fun. Like, the absolute, insane BS crap that they would do in the game was just a lot of it. Like, I remember the intro, there's like a van, and it hits a ramp, and it goes in the air. And as the van is doing, like, a barrel roll through the air, this one guy jumps out, kills a whole bunch of monsters, and then jumps back into the van while the driver of the van is lighting a cigarette while she's doing the barrel with it. And it does the whole opening intro credits during this scene. It was like so over the top. It was almost like a Bollywood moment. It's so excessively over the top, but it was fun and silly and crazy. And I probably low A tier. I really enjoyed it. No urge to, like, just the actual play style of the game, chat was giving me a hard time on, because I was like, I'd find a move that worked, and I would just spam that move. And, I was, basically the worst guy at the Smash Bros. Party. And chat was just like, Muck, this is a game about combos. I'm like, it doesn't say that anywhere. And they're like, just trust me, you're supposed to use combos. Mix it up more. And I'm like, fine. I was just happy just spamming, one thing to get through it. But they didn't like that. Let's see. What's another one? Let's just pick one. Detroit Become Human. The first QuickTime event game I ever played. And you know what? It kind of was downhill after that. So I'm gonna say low A tier. That was the first and also best QuickTime event game I've played so far. It was very enjoyable. The story was solid. It kept me engaged all the way through. And the amount of time you had to complete events was just fast enough that I was sweating sometimes. Whereas every single one of these other games, you have so much time. Like, you can go make a sandwich and come back, and the QuickTime event still isn't over. So, Detroit Become Human, really good. For anyone who hasn't played it, the whole idea is there are, cyborgs, or basically robot people that live amongst humans in society. Some of them, one of them helps out the police, and, you control him sometimes. And there's another one that's like a maid at a guy's house. And there is another one that works for this rich old guy, and the old guy is getting him to paint. And they all have different experiences, and there's like a robot uprising, and they each are involved in it in different ways. Some of them are, helping with it, some of them are hindering it, some of them are just trying to survive, and you are kind of bouncing through the story between them and making different choices for them. But it was really, really enjoyable. And the other QuickTime events, the other QuickTime event games I played, I was like, oh man, these are not as good as Detroit Become Human. All right, what else we got? Deep Rock Galactic Survivors. I'm pretty sure this one's early access. My camera's out of focus. This game is just like Vampire Survivors or Soulstone Survivors, any of those, but it's rock and stone. It's the dwarves. And if you haven't played it, it's very enjoyable. It's a very, simple little game. I would imagine it's quite cheap. Let me see. Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. Yeah, I did like 15 hours almost. Yeah, EA, and it's currently $7. It's on sale right now. But it's a fun little game. You just running around as one of the dwarves, and you're on a map, and you are trying to get resources while monsters are coming in, and you're killing the monsters, and the map is getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until you accomplish the objective and then can successfully extract. Yeah, that's how that works. Pretty simple. And it was fun. So put that in early access. What else we got here? Dyson Sphere program. I'm thinking about playing it again, but I haven't yet. So I'm going to say very high A tier. Dyson Sphere program, I was holding off on playing it until they added enemies, because I played Factorio and I loved it. I played Satisfactory and I got bored, because in Satisfactory, there's no threats. You're just a kid in a sandbox, and you just tell mom when you're done. There's nothing that bothers you in Satisfactory or bothers the things you create. So when they added enemies to Dyson Sphere program, I was like, all right, let's try it. And I freaking loved it. It was fantastic, and I'm thinking about playing it again. Very enjoyable game. For those who don't know what Dyson Sphere is, the idea is, imagine you like a solar panel, sunlight hits it and it gets energy, right? So imagine a bunch of solar panels around a star. So they're capturing all of the energy coming off of the star, which is obviously an absurd feat of engineering, making a sphere that goes around a star. And the idea of the Dyson Sphere program is you build up a economy to the point where you do that. You make actual the Dyson spheres around a star, and then use those to power whatever you've got. But then there's alien ships. There's like alien fleets and stuff, and those are the enemies that are in the game now. So I really, really like that one. Next up, Dredge. Dredge, I'm going to say it was fun. That's actually one of my most successful game reviews. I did a sponsored stream for them. It's a game about fishing, but it is Cthulhian. So you start out, you're just fishing, and then you start fishing up stuff that has too many eyes, teeth, tentacles, things like that, start getting weird. And if you start pursuing this and trying to figure out what's going on under the water, you start finding some really, really creepy stuff going on. And it's a game with multiple endings, and the thing is, it's also family friendly. I'm impressed that they were able to make a family friendly Cthulhian game, but they pulled it off, and I'm impressed by that. There's multiple endings, and if you play this game, if you finish one of the endings, definitely YouTube how to get the other one. They go hand in hand, and it is what the twist is really good. Really good. Additionally, I have not yet played the DLC, but the company was awesome. They sponsored me for the 2-hour stream. I enjoyed it. I finished the entire game. I did a positive review video of it. They found out about the review video. They were really happy. And then they sponsored me again when they did a big update later on. Their DLC, there's a DLC they did about like an oil platform or something that I have not played yet. It's on my to-do list. Next up, Black Myth Wukong. I'm going to say A tier for sure. Probably above Disco Elysium. Black Myth Wukong, cleared the whole game. I believe I got every single boss. Did it on mouse and keyboard. Greatly enjoy it. Amazing, amazing game. I also made a review video for it, a positive one. It's a Souls-like game that is all about Journey to the West. With the Monkey King and all the crazy stuff you run into. And I gotta tell you, if you don't know Journey to the West, which I didn't, you are not gonna predict anything that goes... Here's an example. This is actually in the game. Your best friend is like 3 feet tall, has neck down, the body of a human, neck up, the body of a boar. His weapon of choice is a rake, like the one you use to rake leaves in your yard, and he beats people to death with it. His girlfriend's a spider. Everything I just said was true. That's Black Myth Wukong. And amidst all that insanity, it is also a Souls-like. So you fight all this crazy stuff you run into. But of course, you are playing the Monkey King, which is the inspiration behind, Goku and, Wukong from League of Legends and the Monkey Tonic from Guild Wars 2. And any game where there's a monkey with a staff that changes sizes and he surfs on a cloud and he makes clones of himself, that's based off of that. So it's crazy. It is fun. It was gorgeous. It ran well. So yeah, definitely A tier. Great experience. Final Fantasy, what was this? 16? Final Fantasy 16. This is the only hold on, is that the right number? Hold on, the thumbnail is so small. I'm double checking here. Final Fantasy, XVI, that's 16, right? Yeah, I think that's 16. Final Fantasy 16 is the only Final Fantasy I've ever finished. I played the MMO, briefly. I just didn't get into it. FF16, we started playing it, and ended up finishing it. I had some technical issues with it, so I moved it over to GeForce Now, and I played it on there using their computers. There was definitely some moments where it was pretty dull. It's like, you're fighting God, and then on the next mission, you're helping like a farmer, and it was just like, okay. But the high moments were really high. Like, there was this one fight where you fight Titan, who controls Earth. Oh my God, that was memorable. Like, you're fighting this dude, and he's already he's like 8 feet tall, and you're like 5'11", which might as well be 2 feet tall. And then he powers up, and he turns into like a 30-foot tall guy, and then you're fighting him. And then he powers up again, and basically just is like, I'm gonna be that mountain. And he turns into the mountain, and you're like running along his arms and stuff, and like trying to take him out. And it's like playing amazing music. And it was like those moments were kind of like, it was channeling Devil May Cry. But again, the whole game wasn't like that. I will also say I hated the ending of it, but I will say a very high B tier. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I finished it. I think I did all the I think I did 99% of the side quests. There was 1 or 2 I didn't want to do. Cult of the Lamb. We revisited Cult of the Lamb because of the Sins of the Flesh update, which is when they added they added Schmicks. Yeah, it doesn't show it obviously, but they added Naughty Time to the game and a whole bunch of other weird stuff to it. But we played it. I think it was in January because it was almost 2023 when we played it. But I'll say, finished it and it was fun. Cult of the Lamb is already a great game, and their update added some good stuff to it. My first Five Nights at Freddy's game, Into the Pit. Now, I know a lot about FNAF. Now, this, I don't know how unusual this is. I have no interest in playing the jump scare games. However, love the lore, from a storytelling perspective. Like, I've watched so many hour-long videos of MatPat explaining the entire story so far. So I know a lot of the lore of the franchise up to this point. Also, my kid wanted to see the movie, so I saw the movie with him. So I played Into the Pit, and that's the first time I played a FNAF game, because the graphics were really unique. And it was like, well, Noxxi will put some on the screen. Thanks, Nox. But it was a very one-of-a-kind art style that looked really cool. Again, not really into horror games, but it was pretty cool. There was one part that was frustrating. There was one unclear moment where I didn't know what I was supposed to do, and we got stuck there for like 10 or 15 minutes. And there was one part where it was a difficult part, and if I died, I had to replay like 5 minutes of gameplay to get back to that part, and then I might immediately die again, because I couldn't figure out what to do. And the game doesn't let you just save whenever. It just has checkpoints. So there were some unfortunate parts of the game, but overall, it was definitely fun. I think I'm going to put it above A Quiet Place. All right. Backpack Battles. One of the tiers on my Patreon is called Sponsor of the Zone, and they could basically say, I want you to play this game tonight. So for a 5-hour stream, they basically just control the stream. And one of them said, I love this game and I want you to try it out, and it's called Backpack Battles. And it is a very simple game with very simple graphics, but it was enjoyable. I had fun playing it. It honestly felt like playing another game I've played before called God of Weapons, which I mentioned that when we talked about Brotato, except it was simpler graphics. Like, it almost looks like paper doll graphics. But basically, the better you can organize your adventurer's inventory, the more firepower they have. So it's kind of like Tetris, but also an auto battler at the same time, whereas God of Weapons, you're moving around in real time. I'm pretty sure that Backpack Battles is an early access. Let me see. Yeah, it is. It is. Okay, so for fairness, I'm going to put it in EA. However, if I had to grade it, I would probably say B tier. I finished what the content was there, and it was fun. Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree came out, and we went into it, and we cleared everything. So when I played the original Elden Ring release, I did it blind. So if I didn't find it, I didn't know about it until later. Things like Melania that everybody knows about, I never found her, so I didn't know she existed. So when we finished Shadow of the Erdtree, I went back to fight like Melania and stuff like that, and dude, I killed her in like 10 seconds. Now, granted, unlike many other people, I didn't do it, butt naked with a stick in my hand, and they're like, I'll get one shot by anything. I have to parry everything. No, I went at her with magic, and I blew her up. But overall, the expansion was really good. I enjoyed it. Final boss fight, I was stuck on that for a couple of hours until I mastered that. It was very satisfying being able to beat it. I think I cleared every boss that was in there and a lot of the open world stuff. I would say very high A tier. Loved it. Didn't have the urge to keep playing it over and over and over, but I did love it while I was there. Against the Storm. Even with magic, how the heck do you kill Melania in 10 seconds? Okay, so real quick on Elden Ring. I went in there, and I had a spell that would shoot a wave of, like, spiky roots, right? And the spiky roots would do bleed buildup. She came at me, and she was near a wall. So instead of the roots, like, passing through her, they, like, hit here and then went up the wall and hit her, like, 5 times. And I was me casting the spiky roots, and also my clone was casting the spiky roots. So as she approached us, we applied bleed on her like 27 times. So she literally popped like a balloon. So I was just like, cast, phase 2. Cast. Oh, dodge a little bit, panic dodge. She's doing the rain dance or whatever it is, and then again. Like she died very fast. Is that it? Hold on. This is a clip from Elden Ring. What is this one? Oh my god, I found it. Wow. I didn't think I'd find it that quickly. What? She's by the wall and they're bouncing off the wall. There you go. Melania phase 1. There you go. Yeah, I mean, I fought her after the DLC, but yeah. Easy. But yeah, I didn't, again, I wasn't fighting her naked with a stick. The whole legend of the people fighting her and she's really tough, they're dodging and parrying. I'm like, screw that, I'm standing back here. I'm just gonna shoot her. Like, that's nutty. No. Okay, so that was my experience with Elden Ring. All right, next up, Against the Storm. Guys, S tier. S tier. Against the Storm is a game that is about making a city, but it's a roguelike. I have played it 149 hours this year, and it is all about building a city, and if you're successful, it's like, okay, hold on a second. Imagine like a world map, and there's one city in a crater that is safe from this murder storm that's passing by constantly. And you go out and build a city. If you're successful, then you go out and build another one, and you use your previous city as like a trade route, and you keep trying to get further to get resources back to home base. After enough time has passed, the next superstorm comes around and everybody flees back to the main city and your old ones are destroyed. So it is a roguelike, but also a city builder at the same time. And it has, I think, 25 levels of difficulty. And the first 4, the rewards increase dramatically, and then they kind of plateau a bit. But difficulties like 5 through 25 are a little more reward for a lot more risk, and I managed to beat a map on the top difficulty 1 time. And it took me a lot of work to do that, and I really enjoyed it. I just really, really enjoyed it. A bit like Frostpunk. Okay, kind of, but you got more control over individuals. Like, you can specifically say, Bob, you're better at tailoring, go to that building. Like, you can control individual people and say, you're here, you're there. We're out of firewood, so stop bothering to work at the kiln and go do something else, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's whereas Frostpunk, you're controlling like thousands of people, so it's just like if you have enough people, they're doing the thing, and that's it. So it's more like, I guess, a colony sim than like a city sim. But it was one of my favorite games. It was really good. Okay, another Crab's Treasure, also known as Crab Souls. This is a Dark Souls game that looks like it was made by Disney, basically. You play a little crab, and you move around, and you're a hermit crab, so you can change your shell. Like, you could change it from like a tin can to a pill bottle, etc. And if you block an attack with your shell, it will take damage, and the shell can break. And the durability of the shell will vary depending on what it is. Like, you can have like an egg as your shell, it breaks after one hit. Or you can have like a tin can, and it is a lot harder. And your weapon is a fork that you find. And so you don't have a lot of customization with your loadouts. You're basically using a fork and your shell and maybe some special powers that they call like umami powers. But it was a very fun game. I cleared the whole thing. Definitely putting it into finished it, and it was fun. There's also this fun little thing. There's a cheat mode you can turn on at any time where your shell becomes a gun. Like the hermit crab lives in the ammo compartment, and you can literally just shoot any boss and kill it instantly if you're sick of their crap. So after we killed the final boss, we went back and reloaded to right before it and turned on gun mode and just shot it in the head one time. It was so silly. But I mean, this is kind of a meme thing. Give me Mucka coffee. Sure, there you go. All right, Core Punk. Core Punk kind of reminded me of playing WoW 20 years ago. Core Punk is an early access, so I have to put it here. I would say it was a fun game. But incredibly slow. Now, I can appreciate slow gameplay, okay? I played EverQuest. I played WoW when it came out. I don't mind a slow grind. Core Punk is incredibly slow. Like, it feels like there's not enough, like, quest items and mobs in the world. Like, I played for over an hour before I found a tree I could chop down. Like, very slow. And the developer right now is very vehement about he wants it to be a slow game. But the people that are playing it, a lot of them like it, but a lot of them have similar critique to what I said. Like, it just feels like there's not enough in the world for the amount of players playing it right now. I don't know if they're going to change it or anything like that, but I did have fun while I was playing it. So I'd probably put it in, if it wasn't for EA, I would say didn't finish it, but it was fun. But it is a slow grind right now. Maybe they'll change that. I don't know. Alan Wake 2. Definitely finished it and was fun. Probably put it over here. It was... I've played the Alan Wake series so far. I played Alan Wake, and I played the DLC, and I played Control, and I've played Alan Wake 2. And Alan Wake 2... I was expecting them to tie off a lot more, knots than they did. And when it ended, it ends on a cliffhanger. I'm going to tell you now. And I about flipped the table. Like, waited so many years for Alan Wake 2 to come out, and it ends on a cliffhanger. And I'm like, God dang it. So that was really frustrating. The story itself was really good. It's not over yet. It's still going. You play a new character. You play this cop lady sometimes, and you play Alan sometimes. But I did enjoy its weird abstract craziness, just like I have in the past. And there was a musical number in the game that is extremely memorable. Yeah. Have you played the Alan Wake 2 DLCs? I've played all of them, other than the one that's like Alabama Chainsaw Massacre or whatever it's called. It's just like a goofy thing. I've played all the others. Okay, what's next? Amanda the Adventurer. Okay, this is a game that looks like, imagine like you go into an attic and there's like a VHS player, and you pop in a tape that you find nearby, and it's like the Teletubbies. It's like a very child-friendly program, but it's kind of weird, and it's like a haunted VHS type of thing, right? And so you're watching this show, that's about like it's almost like Dora the Explorer, except when you turn around, you think Dora's trying to kill you. That's Amanda the Adventurer. So it took us like 1 day to clear it. It was interesting. I'm probably just gonna put it and finish it. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it either. But I'm just gonna put it and finished it because that's what we did. We finished it. It was a weird one. Apparently the sequel came out, and my kid who loves scary stuff wants me to play the sequel. You don't play Alan Wake? No, you do play Alan Wake. You do. You play Alan Wake and the new character who I can't. It's a her. I can't forget her name right this or can't remember her name right this second. But you do play him sometimes. Chained Together. Chained Together. I let my son. My son likes to stream with me on Father's Day. It's become like a yearly thing that we've done each year since he was like 6 or 7, and he's 13 now. I have a teenager, guys. Chained Together is a game where you've got 2 people and they're trying to do jumping puzzles like Chalice of Tears, and they're chained together. So if one person falls, they might pull the other one down too. If someone falls and the other one's fast enough, they can brace themselves and grab the chain and save them. But it's often if one falls, they both fall. Now they've got 2 gameplay modes. One where it's just normal, and the other is kind of like it's the baby mode, and I hate that they call it that. But if you fall, you can teleport back. You can basically, undo. Okay, so you could go back like 5 seconds. We tried to play it on the normal mode, but like, let's say you're 10 minutes in and you die, you fall, not die, you don't die. Let's say you fall and you're 10 minutes in, you got to replay the last 10 minutes perfectly to proceed. If you're 40 minutes in and you fall, you might have to replay 40 minutes perfectly to get back to where you were. So after like 30 minutes to an hour of us getting some distance and falling and getting some distance and falling, we finally, for the sake of progress, we turned on the get to the end mode, and it still took us many hours to finish it. But it was a fun game, but I think most of the fun I had was because I was playing it with my kid. So I'm probably gonna put it at the top of finished it tier. I'm gonna put it there. Okay. Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred. So Diablo 4 and Dragon Age Veilguard make me want to add a tier that says this game made me lose interest in a franchise I was following for 20 years. And I would put both of those games there. So I did finish D4. You know what? Hang on a second. Hang on. Let me see. Add a row below. And because I don't even want to put it, like, I don't want to put it next to Chained Together. That'd be an insult to Chained Together. Oh, 1 second here. Okay, there we go. I don't want to put it there. I'm going to put it in the shame tier. So, D4 Vessel of Hatred. All right? 1, the new class, the Spiritborn. In terms of gameplay, it was green. It was exactly the same as the others, but green. In terms of balance, it was doing... Chat, I am being literal. Millions of times more damage than the other classes. So the balance was non-existent for this release. In terms of story, I don't think the people that wrote the story for D4, Vessel of Hatred, played or read what happened in D1, because it didn't really make sense. In terms of world building, it didn't make any sense. Because, like, you'd find these weird puzzles, and it was like, there's no valid reason that these would have existed in the past. They don't make any sense. And then, in terms of the ending, in D4, and also D4 Vessel of Hatred, at the very end, someone who that you've been trusting and working with, out of nowhere, betrays you, so that they have a breadcrumb trail to continue and sell another expansion later. There was no build up to it at all, just betrayal, and they'd use the exact same thing at the end of that one. So that was really disappointing. And I did just slam Dragon Age Veilguard. Where is it in here? Second row from the top. Ah, thank you. All right, so Dragon Age Veilguard. I actually talked about this earlier because someone asked me about it. So I actually have a lot to say about it. The TLDR for Dragon Age Veilguard, if you want to pause the stream and read, like, these are the critiques I have about it, okay? Dragon Age, we were so hyped for Dragon Age Veilguard. We just played Dragon Age Origins, Dragon Age 2, and Dragon Age Inquisition and all their DLCs. We were so hyped for this, and this was simply a massive disappointment. The reasons why I feel that way are right here, but it was... Just to read a couple of them, you start with all weapons equipped and never unlock new weapon types. You can only have 3 buttons on your bar, down from like 10. You can't control your companions, which you could in every previous game. You can only ask them to use their skill, but when you use one, all their other skills go on cooldown, so it's pointless to level more than one. Just use the good one every single time. The party size is limited to 3, down from 4 from every other game, so there's less companion interactions. To use companion skills, you have to pause the game and select the skill every time, so you're pausing and unpausing every 20 seconds, which ruins the flow of the game. Faces look like Pixar. They ruined the Your Choices Matter from previous games, except for like one of them. There's massive plot holes. Like, it just... Like, just one example, there's this giant dead dragon. There's like ribs. You're getting chased by monsters. You run between the ribs and turn around, and the monsters are like, they can't get you. They're half your size. Why can they not get between the ribs? They are half your size, and they get stuck there, but you don't. It's like, there's just so many moments like that where it's like, this makes no sense. You know, and like, it's not even talking about the mage character who pushes over like a 30,000-pound stone statue at the beginning of the game. Like, it just makes no sense. So, yeah, I was incredibly disappointed by that. Their hitbox is too big? I guess. All right. Domekeeper. Domekeeper, finished it. It was very fun. I'm almost tempted to say loved it. I made a positive review video about it, probably below Cult. But Domekeeper was a lot of fun. Simple little game where it's like a roguelike. Your dome, your ship lands on a planet, and you're trying to dig down and get resources, but occasionally you gotta run back to your ship because it gets attacked from above, kind of like a Galaga, and you got to balance your time. Do you keep digging for resources? Do you stay near the ship to defend it? When you get money, do you spend it to upgrade your ability to dig for more resources, or do you spend it on the defenses? You know, and you got to find a nice balance. And it was a very enjoyable little game, little indie game, and I enjoyed it. Death Must Die. This one, I didn't finish it, but it was fun. Death Must Die is kind of like Vampire Survivors, Soulstone Survivors, Deep Rock Galactic Survivors. It's one of those, except all the gods are, I shouldn't hide this. They're all hot anime chicks. Chat suggested it. I played it. They're all hot anime chicks. But the actual gameplay was very enjoyable. It was just like all those other Survivor games. Honestly, if you like those, you'll like this one. If you didn't, then you won't. Empire of the Ants. Didn't finish it, but it was fun. Empire of the Ants is a interesting RTS game. RTS is real-time strategy. Games like Warcraft 1, StarCraft, Command & Conquer, stuff like that. Except you play an ant, and your abilities are all like pheromone this, pheromone that. But you command other ants. So you could be like, you guys, hit them. You guys, flank around. You guys, go get that apple. We need food. You know? So it's like you're controlling an RTS that's like, you know, the size of a picnic, but you're way down there and you're on the ground. You know, you don't even have the above view you would normally have in RTSs. So sometimes you have to just get close enough to others in order to order them to do what you need them to do. So Empire of the Ants was a very unique, novel thing. We did, man, I don't know. We probably, well, let me check here. Let me check. Let's see. Ant. Empire of the Ants. We played 5 hours. So we did like one full stream of it, and it was enjoyable. I got sponsored to play 2 hours, so I ended up playing 5. I had fun. It's a very unique thing. It definitely didn't have its hooks in me, but I enjoyed what I played. Definitely keep an eye on it, because they might improve it even further than it is. Enshrouded. I'm pretty sure Enshrouded is still... Oh, not shame. Early access. If it wasn't in early access, I would probably put it in high B tier. It was a very fun game. It is kind of like Valheim, with probably a slightly more forgiving system. But it's a survival open world RPG. You know, you can craft a building, you can make castles, you can craft items, and you go around, and there's this stuff called the Shroud, which normal humans cannot go into. You can for limited periods of time. And you go out and, you basically, kill tougher enemies, get better gear, kill tougher enemies, get better gear, kind of like Terraria, but it's quite enjoyable. And again, if it wasn't early access, I'd probably put it in B tier, like high B tier. Evil Genius 2. Finished it and loved it. Evil Genius 2 is kind of like you're making a little base. It almost kind of felt like I was playing like a Sims, like no, not SimCity, Dungeons. Yeah, I remember like Dungeons or Dungeon Keeper. It felt like that, but James Bond villain. You had your minions, and you had a very strong accent, and you're ordering them around, and you're trying to make like a doomsday weapon and stuff like that. But you're making this underground base, but one side of the base is like a casino, and that's a front for it. But you got to keep the customers in the casino and keep anyone that shouldn't be in the doomsday area out of the doomsday area, stuff like that. But it was fun, and I played it more off stream, so I almost have to put it in S tier. But it was very good. Frostpunk 2. I will say Frostpunk 2, I finished it, and it was very fun. I think I played like 2 full rounds of it. It is very different from Frostpunk 1. So if you liked Frostpunk 1, that's not a promise that you're going to like the second one. But you might love both. I enjoyed both of them. But the plot is you've got a city you're trying to keep alive, and it is freezing, like sometimes negative 100-degree weather, and you have to make tough choices. Like, do you mix sawdust into the soup to make it feed more people, even though that's not great for the human body? Do you send the children to work in the mines? They really want to work in the mines, but do you let them work in the mines? The children crave the mines. Stuff like that. You have tough choices to make, and every one of them has negative things that can happen as a result of it. So it was a fun game. It also had some decent Twitch integration, so we had some stuff where chat could vote, like, send them to the mines. They always did that. But it was good. It was good. Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 has had a lot of ups and downs this year, but let's just talk about my own experience. I'm going to say low A tier. I loved it, really enjoyed it. It does get very repetitive. You're doing the same thing a lot, but it's very enjoyable. As a streamer, I think my audience got bored of seeing it, because when you're playing it on Monday, it looks the same as when you're playing it on Friday. Nothing really changes. I had a lot of fun playing it. If my audience loved seeing it every night, I probably would have played it for another few weeks at least before I took a break from it. I took a break because I had seen basically everything there was to offer at that time. They've added a new faction since I last played it, but at that time I had seen everything there was to offer, and also I felt like my audience was tired of it, so I was like, okay, it's time to move on to another game. But I very much enjoyed it, and I have good things to say about it. Now, the company that owns Helldivers has made a lot of stupid decisions about the game, which it's almost fascinating, because often when you see like a game company burn a bridge with gamers, they don't bounce back. But Helldivers is like, everyone loves us, everyone hates us, everyone loves us, we messed up again, they hate us again, and then they love us again. So it's amazing how much they've bounced back from these catastrophic F-ups that they have done. I don't usually see companies pull that off, so that's respect for them to being able to do that. But yeah, that was Helldivers. Okay, next thing. Ghosts of Tsushima. Finished it? Oh man, very, very high B tier. You know what? No, I'm going to put it in low A. Ghosts of Tsushima. A couple things about it. One, it's a Souls-like game. Honestly, in terms of Souls-likes, it's not that difficult. Like I don't consider myself great at parrying, and I was able to blast through that. But it was like, sometimes it was like Assassin's Creed, sometimes it was like a Souls-like, depending on where you were, if you were fighting the little dudes or a big guy. But it was enjoyable. The story was very good. The world is beautiful. This is the part that stuns me the most on this game. There's a running joke that developers these days don't know how to optimize, right? All they know how to do is eat, chip, and lie. Ghost of Tsushima was a game where the wind would blow and every blade of grass would be moving individually. And you would move through them and they would part as your body went through them. So it was rendering all the blades of grass individually. And I was getting no lag. I didn't have to turn the settings down. My computer is not a space station anymore that it used to be. And when I would fast travel to the other end of the map, I could never count to 3 seconds. It'd be like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, done. The game's optimization, like, I award this game Best optimization I have seen in years. Hands down. For what it had to offer. It was stunning how good it looked compared to how well it ran. Absolutely, like in a good way. Let me see. Ghost of Tsushima, and also, let me see. It's 50 gigs. 50 gigs for, like, I feel like if EA made the game, it would have been like a 150 gig game. It was absolutely better than God of War. In terms of optimization, yes, better than God of War. And that's not me saying bad things about God of War. That's me saying good things about Ghost of Tsushima. In terms of optimization. Yeah, absolutely stunning. Dragon's Dogma 2. Okay. This, it's not you, it's me, you know? Dragon's Dogma 2. I refunded it after 2 hours. Dragon's Dogma 2, Dragon's Dogma 1, to go back in time further, I played through most of the game, didn't finish it because I got to a part that was just really stupid. If you played Dragon's Dogma 1, it was the part where I had to like jump into a pit and kill enemies and collect 20 Dragon Balls and then bring them back. And I was stuck on that for many hours trying to get the 20 Dragon Balls. And they drop in like quarters, so you had to get like a fourth of a Dragon Ball, so I needed like 80 fourths of Dragon Balls. And I had to do this, and I was never able to get past that point. In Dragon's Dogma 2, first off, I started as a mage. Here's mage combat. You can't dodge roll. You've got this little puff bubble wand. Okay? It slows your movement, so the whole fight you're just walking slowly, doing the most boring magic system I have ever seen in any fantasy video game I have ever played. The NPCs pathing is some of the worst I've ever seen. There were times, and again, I played 2 hours. There were times I was like, okay, there's enemies at the bottom of the hill. I'm going to slide down this hill with my companions, and we're going to get the jump on them. I slide down the hill. The enemies turn and jump me. I'm dying. I turn around. The last thing I see before I die is my 3 companions running in place at the top of the hill because they didn't come down with me. Okay, respawn. Respawn point is in some wacky spot, like a mile behind us, so I got to run a long distance to get back to where I was. This time, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go around the hill. I'm going to run along the shoreline. I run along the shoreline, and I hear someone screaming. I turn. 2 of my 3 companions are dying in the water. Because 1, they pathed into the water, and 2, there's no swimming in this game. If you go in the water, you just die. So when they couldn't go down the hill, I went down the shoreline, and they ran in the lake and killed themselves. Then there was like another moment with like a boulder I won't go into, but the point is, in like the first 2 hours, it was just an awful experience all around. Like the gameplay systems I found in those 2 hours, the way that the pawns worked, the pathing was all just really, really bad. I was like, guys, I haven't had any fun yet. I haven't felt a drop of dopamine tonight. I was like, I think I'm going to just refund this one. So I ended up refunding it. Now, I know people love it, which is why I'm not saying it is like a terrible game. I'm saying I didn't finish it because my experience was awful. And I still joke about it to this day. Another game I'm playing right now is Kingdoms of Amalur, which came out like 10 years ago. You can swim in that game. And I'm like, hey guys, look, Dragon's Dogma couldn't do this. Oh, that comes up from time to time. Okay. Let's see. Eden, I'm going to put in early access. Eden was, I did a 2-hour sponsored stream for them. I will say I got the wrong impression. When I first talked with them about doing the sponsored stream, I thought it was something it was not. And I saw the trailer on Steam for it, and it's an EA game. And I thought it was a game where you make a city and also do like card battles and stuff. And it turned out that wasn't what the game was at all. I very much got the wrong impression from the Steam trailers. And I played it, and it was basically like a mobile game. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because I play Clash of Clans on my phone. I play other mobile games. I don't hate on mobile games. But this one was like a mobile game that wasn't finished yet. It felt like Lord's Mobile, but with less features. So I'm very much putting it in early access, but even if it wasn't in EA, like, unless they add a lot more to it, it would not be something I would play regularly for sure. Last Epoch, got to put this in low S tier. Last Epoch is really, really fun. I often get asked when I play ARPGs, people will be like, hey, I'm thinking about playing an ARPG. Do you recommend this one? No matter which one I'm playing. And I usually tell people, I recommend to you either Grim Dawn, Last Epoch, or Path of Exile 1 or 2. Please know that Path of Exile 1 and 2 require way more depth. If you love the idea of just an ocean of information and, theory crafting and stuff, Path of Exile is great. If you don't like the sound of that, Last Epoch and Grim Dawn are great. So I have very good things to say about Last Epoch. I've done some videos on it. It's really freaking good. I actually, is it technically an EA or is it out of EA? Hang on just a second. Let's, I'm hearing fireworks for New Year's. Hang on. Store page. No, I didn't mean to do that. There we go. Okay. Okay, I think it's out of EA. Okay, wonderful. Then I can just leave it where it is, which is in low S tier. So yeah, I really enjoyed my time in it, and I'm definitely going to be revisiting it more in the future for sure. Okay. Fallout New Vegas. I played that this year, which is like 50 years since it came out, right? I had to mess with patches for 5 hours just to make this damn thing run. So I will say, not because of the game, but because of its age, it was a nightmare to even get this sucker to run. And we had so many crashes and so many problems. So I am trying to push all of that shit out of my head while I give this a grade. Fallout New Vegas was enjoyable. However, I was not having so much fun that I did all the side quests I could, because there was definitely, part of it was its age, but I was definitely, having a lot of frustration with like the crashing and stuff like that. I finished the game and it was fun, and I think that's where I'll leave it. I did, what's the other Fallout that I've played in the past? Fallout 4. I played 179 hours Fallout 4. I did multiple playthroughs of this one. I really enjoyed this one. New Vegas, I played it once through, and then I'm like, okay, I'm not doing that again. Like, it was just the patching and all that stuff was a nightmare. The game itself was fine. I definitely was a bit too murder hobo in it. Like, if people were like disrespected me really bad, I would just take them out, and people be like, what? That was a quest giver, and I'll be like, well, I'll join one of the other factions. And I found out really quickly, if you take out everyone who disrespects you, there's not many people left. So I took out way too many factions without realizing I was doing it. But there's a lot of them that shoot at you first and expect you to forgive them, and I honestly think that is naive. I think that's naive, and that's on them. That's not on me. Escape the Backrooms. This is a very silly game. Most people have seen at least memes about the Backrooms. It is an EA, so it has to go here. Escape the Backrooms is a game that my son wanted to play, and so I played it with him. We did it on stream for part of it, and part of it was off stream, but the playlist for all of these is on Mukluk Plays. But Escape the Backrooms is a game that is, the idea is like there's a part of reality where you can clip through it. You can fall through the floor and you land in the Backrooms. And what does humanity try to do? Well, let's just optimize this. They make like a hotel in there. They're like, yeah, we can fit like, 20 hotels worth of space in between this little section here. You just fall through the floor, and then, they do all this crazy stuff, and there's freaking monsters. Everybody dies. Oh, great. This is bad now. This is bad. So, you basically it's this really crazy adventure. Every floor is a different puzzle, and you'll never, like, one floor looks like you're outside, but you're still on a floor. There's all kinds of weird floors, stuff like this. And then, you can see this guy is running with his arms flailing behind him. Like, the people that you play are quite silly, almost like the Helldivers are. It was enjoyable. I think most of my enjoyment came from I was playing the game with my kid. If I were to rank it, I'd probably put in finished it, fun. I'd probably put it there. At Dead of Night. Played this for Halloween. This game had real actors. And there was this one that every time he would catch you, he would spin you around and scream in your face as he was bringing down a baseball bat. Jump scared the hell out of me so many times. I'm going to put it in finished it. Like, as far as a horror game goes, it was probably a good horror game because it scared me a lot. I think it scared me more than all the other horror games combined did. Like, these were dark stories. This was a cheesy story with really good jump scares that scared me bad. So I'm going to put that in finished it. Next up, Entropy Survivors. Entropy Survivors is a game I was sponsored to play with Bajira and Tangent and... Darn it, there was another one that I can't remember off the top of my head, but with me and some other streamers were sponsored to play this together. I had a lot of fun. I played it quite a bit off stream as well and unlocked some more stuff. It is a survivors game. It is like Vampire Survivors or Soulstone Survivors, any of these other ones, but it has its own twist, and it does have its own systems that set it apart from the others. It has things like talent trees. There are classes. I was playing a druid in one of them that specialized in making vine walls that impeded the enemy, while Bajiro was specializing in like battle axes and was like working on AoEing them down after I would kind of crowd control the area. So like I was not great at damage, but he wasn't great at control. So it was really cool. It was like a Survivors game that it really encouraged teamwork, and I thought that was awesome. I had a lot of fun with that one. Absolutely going in the fun tier. Let's see. Next up, Galactic Civilizations 2. I was sponsored by the company that does Galactic Civ 2 and also Sins of a Solar Empire 2, and I played one of them one week and the other the next week. Galactic Civ 2, Galactic Civ 4 was fun, but I disliked that the combat was auto. Like, it basically, like, you send your ship in, and they send their ship in, and then it just said, X wins. You know? It would just, paper, rock, scissors, or whatever. It'd be like, oh, you've got the greater forces, you win. And the other guy just disappeared. I didn't like the auto combat. The building and all was kind of cool, but it was like, for me personally, I get the same satisfaction from building worlds in this game as I do building cities in Total War. But in Total War, there's also an amazing combat system. So for this one, I am gonna say I'm gonna say I didn't finish it, but it's all right. I definitely, it wasn't for a negative reason, so I'm gonna put it there. Like, it was all right, just it wasn't as good as some other stuff I played that I thought was better. And on that note, I mentioned Sins of a Solar Empire. Sins of a Solar Empire felt like a very similar game. However, Sins of a Solar Empire, the combat, there was more manual combat. You could move the ships around and do stuff in combat. So I really enjoyed that. Again, Total War scratched the same itch, but Total War, I had even more control, so I liked that more. On that note, where is it? All right, Total War. God dang it. What did they put in this game? All right, so my community introduced me. Muk, you should try Total War. I think you'd like it. In May. I now have 883 hours in it. And that may not seem like a lot, but keep in mind, that's out of 111 games I've played this year, or something like that. Total War is a game that, this is Total War Warhammer 3. You can go in there and you can play the elves, you can play the lizardmen, you can play the undead, you can play Egyptian undead, you can play vampire pirates undead, you can play the orcs and go wah, you can play Khorne, blood for the blood god, you can play Nurgle and spread disease and pestilence, you can play freaking rats, and who needs quality when you've got quantity, and just hit them with 3,000 rats. There's so much crazy fantasy stuff. Dragon Mommy, yeah, you can play was it Cantha, which is based on China, and they've got the Great Wall, and they can turn into dragons, like Chinese dragons. There's so much stuff, and I have done so many playthroughs of the game. It's so good. And also, I was so hooked on it, I was like, I bought a few DLCs. There's like $300 of DLC for this game. I was like, chat, if you give me a DLC, I'll play it. A few months later, I played like every DLC. I've tried all of them. There's like 300 factions in the game, and I've played like 50 of them. It's like so much. Cathay. Oh yeah, Cathay. I said Cantha. Cantha is Guild Wars 2 China. Cathay is Total War China. Yeah. Yeah. It was so good. It's so freaking good. So yeah, this has been crack for me this year. I've spent almost 900 hours on it. So good. What else we got? Keep talking and no one explodes. I didn't finish it, but we tried. It gets really difficult near the end. So keep talking and nobody explodes. We played almost 8 hours. So I'll say didn't finish it, but it was fun. I mostly played it with Flute Girl. There was one night I played it with Erolozan. Erolozan panics easily. After one night of deaths and explosions, he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm like, okay, you can refund it if you contact Steam before you open it again. It's only been 2 hours. He's like, okay, I'm sorry. Like, he did not handle it well, and that's totally fine. People have games they don't like. I was trying not to laugh because I thought he was taking it way too personally, But me and Flute, we were a machine. We managed to get a lot further into the game. So I would say I'd probably put it right there. We got to the point where it seemed like we needed to basically know all the answers before it even said them, before we kind of put it down, but we cleared a lot of it. It was also kind of funny while you're playing it, it'll tell you who on your Steam friends list did you beat their time. So it'd be like, oh, yeah, you just beat Cezanne for best score on this one, or you beat Mr. Happy Clam on this one, stuff like that. So that was kind of cool because we just let us throw shade at at other people in the chat. That was neat. Loop Hero. Indie game. It's tough to explain without showing it, but it is an indie game where you're going around a loop and making changes to the world as you move around, and you're putting down tiles on it, like mountain here, river there, etc., etc., etc. And you're getting stronger as you go around the loop. But the whole thing is, it's like the plot is you're like at the end of time. The stars have gone out, humanity has ceased to exist, but for some reason, you're still there, and you're still walking, and you don't know why. But everywhere you pass returns to existence. So you're basically rebuilding reality while you play this, even though you're a hero stuck in a loop. And the story's pretty good. The story was pretty good. I enjoyed it. We played it until we finished the story and we just got to endless mode. I would say low A tier. I loved it. It like below a lot of these others, but I loved it, and I gave it. I made a positive review video of it and showed it off to other people because I wanted to, be like, hey, look at this. This is really nice. So that was Loop Hero. That was good. Franbo was a game we played for Halloween. It was an older game, but it's spooky, and it's about a girl that should be in a mental hospital. And that's where it gets weird, because you don't know how much of the game is in her head and how much is real. Like, is that guy we're running from trying to kill us, or is he just a doctor that's concerned because we're trying to break out of the asylum? Stuff like that. Now, some of it's obvious, like she sees magical creatures and stuff like that, but it's like Alice in Wonderland, but you don't know if Alice should be in the hospital. And it has one of those you interpret it endings, and I hate that. Some people love it. I hate it. But it has one of those endings where you don't even know if she's about to, if she's alive or not. You're not even sure what's going on because it's so abstract. And it's like, oh, well, you decide. And so, you Google it, and everybody's arguing for years on what happened. So I would say it was a very unique experience, but I can't quite say I had a good time. I can't quite say it was a blast. Give me a second. Next up. No Rest for the Wicked. Early access. No Rest for the Wicked is a game that is a kind of like an action RPG. Like, you're in terms of camera angle. You're looking down at your guy or your gal while you're like from Diablo, Path of Exile, stuff like that. You're looking at it like that. But the combat is very serious. Okay, the combat is like, even though that's a level 1 mob, you didn't dodge and you lost half your health. Okay, like it's almost like Souls-like combat. It's very serious. It is a very challenging game. I cleared what there was. I had fun, but oh boy, it was you needed to stay locked in. So it was like Souls-like difficulty in an ARPG camera angle. And you've got blocking and dodging, I think, and stuff like that. But I cleared what was there. If they release more, I will play more. If I had to rate it based on what I saw, I would say it was fun. I would put it in B tier if it was a finished game. Halls of Greed. This is a PvP co-op game that, again, I did a sponsored stream with a few other people because they wanted to, have us show it off as a group. And it's, what is that? There's another game, it's got the word dark in the title, maybe someone will remember it, where you go into like a dungeon as a group and you're trying to beat the dungeon and get loot, but also beat the other players and then get out with the stuff alive. Dark and Darker, thank you. It's like that, but with a top-down camera angle. So this Halls of Greed is kind of like Dark and Darker. But so like if let's say I go in there and my team dies, but I get out alive, I might have better gear than them on our next run because I got out alive on the previous one. And it was pretty enjoyable. And again, there are different classes, so you can like specialize in different things. But I enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure early access. I want to double check on that. Hang on a second. Oh, it's not even out. Well, I guess I just played a very early version of it. I didn't even realize that. Well, I'm glad you guys can't play it. Well, apparently it's not even available yet. But yeah, this is what it looks like. So it almost looks like League of Legends with the top-down camera angle, and then you choose what to try to take out of there, and then there's only certain exit points and stuff like that. But yeah, it was fun, and but it is under EA. If it wasn't EA, I would put it in the fun category. Yeah, early access, exactly. Kanito Pet. My son asked me to play this. My son saw Matt Pat talk about this. And you know that Matt Pat chat, he's an influencer. He's influencing my boy. That's okay, he's a good guy. Kanito Pet was all right, you guys remember Clippy from Microsoft Word? Imagine if Clippy was starting to do some really spooky shit whenever you turned around. That's Kanito Pet. It's kind of like you install a little desktop companion and it starts getting dark. Okay, well, the haunting of your desktop. So I'm gonna say I finished it. It was a very unique experience. I can't say it was like, fun or it was not fun. Like I didn't hate it either, but it was definitely a very unique experience that I've never had anything quite like that in other games. Like Doki Doki, not as dark as Doki Doki, but it's like, okay, imagine he'll be like, oh, welcome. I've made a mini game for you because you seemed so bored. Let's move this work to later. And he like just moves your work and you can't work. And he'll be like, here's here's my friend's house. It's a mess. Can you help us clean it up? And there's like just a bunch of objects and you're like, okay, desk here, rug here, clock here. And then there's like a body in the corner. And you click on it and it just vanishes. Okay. And you lamp here, clock on the wall, and you're just like, what? So it's like, it's just really weird stuff is happening on your desktop, and it keeps getting darker and darker and darker as the story progresses. And it's like he's convinced that you're overworked, and he needs to fix that, and he thinks the way to do that is to like keep you there. So it was weird, but it's a very inexpensive indie game if any of you want a weird kind of spooky adventure. Spider-Man Remastered. You may see by the games I play, I don't do much in the way of superhero games. But for a very long time, Banana Boro in chat kept going, you need to play Spider-Man, you need to play Spider-Man, you need to play Spider-Man. And finally, he bought it for me, so I really didn't have any excuses. So after some other game I finished, I was like, all right, I'll try Spider-Man. Damn it, I had fun. The web slinging in that game was really, really good. Also, similar to Ghost of Tsushima, really fast load times, like stunningly fast load times. And by default, they're off. But chat told me, Mug, there's some really funny cutscenes if you turn on cinematic loading or something like that. So we actually turned on a setting that made the load times worse to see a bunch of goofy interactions with like Spidey on the subway and stuff like that, because he would like ride the subway when you would fast travel. And so we actively made our load times worse for more content. Which feels weird to say it, but it's true. But the game was very fun. There's actually, to my shock, there's different ways of doing it. Like Spidey, like Peter makes a whole bunch of different gadgets and stuff he can use. My favorite way of defeating an enemy is if you could like CC them, they were out of the fight. So you could punch them until they were unconscious and needed plastic surgery, or you could just web them up completely and stick them to a wall. So I got to the point at the end of the game, I was like writing my name on the wall. I was like sticking goons to the wall in the shape of letters. Just they're all CC. They couldn't get down. They were out. They were gone. So it was very fun. I'm not gonna say like, I loved it, but I'm gonna say very, very high B tier for sure. Above Assassin's Creed, certainly. Halls of Torment. I'm not sure if that's early access. Let's see, Torment. Halls of Torment. Are you early access, Halls of Torment? No, it's fully out. Okay, then we can grade it for what it is. Halls of Torment, I'm gonna say also high B tier. Very enjoyable game. Halls of Torment, I would say, is a mixture of a survivor game like Vampire Survivors and Diablo 1 in terms of graphics and the inventory. So like if you go into the dungeon and you manage to, there's like a well with a bucket, and if you can dig a good loot in the bucket and send it up, you can use it on your future runs. So you get these items and they would, change your build, and you'd have different classes and stuff like that. And it was a very unique twist on the survival thing where it is its own thing. It's not just a clone of the others, and I really enjoyed it. Again, probably a very cheap game because it's a very simple formula. Indigo Park. I'm not even gonna look it up. I'm pretty sure it's early access. Indigo Park, very enjoyable. I would put it in finished it and fun tier. It's kind of like a lot of these horror games lately, like Poppy Playtime and stuff like that, are releasing in chapters, and each one will be like $5 or $10, and each one's like a night of gameplay, and then you got to play the next one when the next one's out. Indigo Park Chapter 1, I think that one might have been free. Yeah, it's free. So Chapter 1 is free if any of you want to play it. And it looks like it took me 1.3 hours to beat it. But again, my kid saw MatPat, I think, talking about it. And it's like a spooky park called Indigo Park that is all run down. But there's this one AI there that you can still communicate with, which is this raccoon. And he talks to you through the monitors. And he's like, hey, if you help me get the park running again, we can, make it a great place to be. And you end up going down this rabbit hole of like, well, why is the park closed in the first place? And there's like monsters and stuff. But it left me wanting more. I don't even like horror games, and the story was good and the character was very likable. So I wanted more. So I would absolutely put this in high B tier if it was a done game, but it is not done. It is just like a free demo kind of thing is out. Yeah, Chapter 1. All right. Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning. I have not finished it. I'm in the middle of playing it. I'm having fun. This is an old game. It is the game that almost bankrupted the state of Rhode Island. That is the weirdest thing to say, but it is apparently true. But Kingdoms of Amalur apparently got a massive loan and couldn't pay it back from the state of Rhode Island and cost them millions and millions and millions of dollars. And if you Google Kingdoms of Amalur and Rhode Island, you'll find the story, and it is bonkers. The gameplay is an old RPG, very open world, tons of freedom. It's almost like playing an early version of an Elder Scrolls game. Lots of different combat styles. You've got 3 talent trees, one for strength, one for finesse, and one for magic. And you can put the points in them however you wish. So you can go all the way into one tree or mix and match or whatever, and then you'll find gear that requires a certain amount of points in any of those trees to equip. So you can do a hybrid magic and strength build or a hybrid finesse and strength build, whatever. And a lot of freedom. Customization's good. The combat feels good as well. There's one weapon in that game that a lot of people love, which is the chakrams. Like those little bladed circles. Xena Warrior Princess had one, but you control them with your magic. So you throw them and then you make them just like blender around enemies and stuff. And that's just like one of your normal attacks. That doesn't even cost mana. So it is a really fun game. I'm still in the middle of my playthrough of it. But right now, if I were done with it right now, I'd put it low A, high B. Is Re-Reckoning better than original? My understanding is the Re-Reckoning just has like a lot of bug fixes and remaster and stuff like that. So it's basically like a re-release, but it's a lot more polished. But I could not tell you exactly what they changed. Pacific Drive. I did a sponsored stream for them. Liked the game enough that I then finished the entire game. And then I made a positive review video on YouTube about the game. I'm going to say it's an A tier. It's a game about, how can I explain this? Imagine you're trapped in an area of the wilderness that you're not supposed to be in. So there's a giant wall around it, but you went in there because you're an idiot. And it's kind of like the X-Files in there. Spooky crap is happening, and the government wants people to stay out because they don't even understand it. And you went in there because you're stupid. And you have got a car that you get in there that is... I forget the terminology they use in the game, but Alan Wake would call it an object of power. And when you're about to be like destroyed or something, you kind of snap back to this garage that you were at, but you can take stuff that you find to upgrade and fix the car. So you're constantly doing like, you come back, you're like, all right, recharge the battery, put more gas back in, tear the hood off the car. I found a new hood while I was out there, put this giant funnel on the top to collect rainwater while I'm going around and stuff like that. And, it's like a car maintenance game with amazing music in between drive for your life, moments. And so it'd be like, you'll be like running for your life and some ET looking mother mucker will come out and like grab your rear bumper and you're just like, gonna have to fix that when I get back. And you're just like, you pedal to the floor. It was a very fun game, and I played it all the way through because I had a blast. It was very, very good. There goes the tire. Yeah, there goes the tire. But yeah, sometimes you'd find like some abandoned military vehicle, and you're like, oh, new tires. You steal the tires from the military vehicle. Okay, so that was a great one. Homeworld 3. Low B tier. I sponsored stream, did a 2-hour sponsored stream for them. Liked it enough that I cleared the whole game and did a review video on it, and I enjoyed it. It is an RTS. It is also 3D. When I say 3D, I mean three-dimensional movement. There's a Z-axis, which sometimes be very tricky because you're like, all right, I want you to go there. And it's like, okay, are you pointing there or are you pointing there? You know, like move here, move here, move here, move here. That's all easy. How do I tell the unit to move to this point in space versus that point in space? And it took some getting used to figure out how to order movements to go exactly to the point in space I wanted. Once I figured that was quite fun. But it did have a very simple gameplay loop. However, it is the kind of game that when I look at it, I think they've got a really good foundation here. And if they added on to this, this could be amazing, in my opinion. I never played the previous Homeworld games, but I had a lot of fun clearing Homeworld 3. Senua's Saga 2. We played this on GeForce Now. Senua's Saga is a game about... What is the condition she has? Do you remember? What is it? Psychosis. Senua has psychosis. So again, we've got a game about a woman who... The issues you're facing, you don't know if they're really there or not. You know, like some of the stuff she sees might just be in her head, or it might not. But at the same time, she's kind of like a Viking warrior woman, and she's going through and she's just seeing this crazy shit happen, and she doesn't know if it's really there, but she's fighting for her life. And sometimes it's real, sometimes it's not. But she's going through this stuff, and it was one hell of a wild ride. So I'm gonna say it was a fun playthrough. Not one I wish to redo, not one I wish to replicate, but if they came out with like a Senua Saga 3, I'm gonna play it. It was good enough. I definitely want to do like another like a playthrough of the next game as well. Heretic's Fork. Didn't finish it for negative reasons. I want to be very clear here. I had fun playing the game. Similar to Brotato, whoever runs the music for that game hit me with like 7 copyright claims the next morning. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to keep playing this because it's hurting me as a streamer. The gameplay was fun. Simple little indie game. It's kind of like a card game and a tower defense game at the same time. I enjoyed it, but stopped streaming it for that reason. Hatoful Boyfriend. God dang it. On Valentine's Day, I told chat to pick a dating sim game and I would play it for them, and they picked this stupid game where you date pigeons. And I was going around and I unintentionally got the shortest possible ending, I think, where I basically leave school and run off into the night to because I'm in love with the psychopath pigeon. I don't have any regrets on that because it got me out of there faster. But that was I finished it. That was a trip. Hades 2, early access. Loved it. I would put it in the loved it tier, an A tier. Maybe S, but high A tier at least. But it's in early access. It's not done yet. I cleared what is available, but is very good. All right, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I'm in the middle of playing it right now. I think we've only got a few hours remaining. I'm probably going to finish it tomorrow night. I'm not done with it yet, so I'm going to put it in. I haven't finished it, but it's fun. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is... If you liked the old... Like, it is like jumping straight back into 90s movies. So if you've got any nostalgia for old Indiana Jones movies, this hits it really well. To the point where my understanding is the company that made it have seen that it's so well received, they're completely open to making more. Like, it's doing well as a game in terms of sales. I did it as a sponsored stream and had so much fun, I'm choosing to finish it. I saw the Indiana Jones movies when I was really little. I barely remember. Like, I remember the popular scenes, like him running from the boulder and him swapping the item with the weight and, like, you know, the guy brandishing his sword and he just shoots him with a gun. You know, stuff like that. There's so many parts about this that I forgot that I knew. And then, like they'll just show a transition And like the transitions, I'm like, oh my god, this was the same way they did the transitions in the movies, and I'm like blown away. Like I didn't even remember that until they showed it. So it very much scratches the same. Like it was faithful. That's the word. It's faithful to the original content. If you liked the original Indiana Jones movies, you would probably like this game. The combat's very simple. Indy's not like, friggin' an Avenger, okay? He has a small stamina bar. He does have some cheesy stuff you could do. Like if he has the bull whip, if he uses his whip and hits someone in the ankle, they're like, oh my god. And then you just punch them in the face a whole bunch till they go down. And then usually he's like, you're like, usually after I win a fight, I'm panting over them. Because Indy, although he is in shape, he's not like a super strong guy. And I think that it's pretty solid that they did that. He still has the terrible luck he has in the films, things going wrong and stuff like that, and he does those stupid one-liners, and he knocks out an enemy. He'll say like stupid quips and stuff like that. It's been a fun experience. Looking forward to finishing it. We're almost done with it. But yeah, it's more about the story than the gameplay, but the gameplay is all right. It has some nice puzzles. It does have some nice puzzles. Horizon. Okay, I know that it is very popular to hate on Horizon. I don't really care about whether it's popular or not. I'm going to be honest, I loved this one. I'm going to put it in low A tier. I really enjoyed the Horizon series. Like, not so much that I want to do multiple playthroughs, that's why it's not in the S tier, but I really enjoyed Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West. I liked them both. I did have a few bugs while playing Forbidden West. It wasn't a bug-free experience. Like, I had to turn down a few things on my system, but I liked them both. And I did a lot of the side quests, and I thought the story was really nice. I know some people disagree with that, and that's fine. I enjoyed the story. There was a few moments I was like, oh my god, that's so cool. Why the hate? Any actual reasons? There's a few that are super shallow. Like, they made her like slightly pudgier in the second game, and there's a lot of hate. Like, why would you just make her a little bit more like fatter? That has been on media. A lot of people hating on the story, which I guess we'll disagree because I liked the story, but overall I enjoyed the game. You've got like the monster, the giant robot dinosaurs, and you can hit different parts. Like, you could shoot them in the tail until their tail tears off, and then you could use the cannon on the tail to hit them. So it's kind of like Monster Hunter, but you could weaponize the parts you blast off of them, stuff like that. But yeah, I enjoyed it. The Rift Breaker. A lot of people know me as a large Guild Wars 2 streamer. I'm actually also the largest Rift Breaker streamer. S tier. I'm actually going to put this here. Love this game. I have a video called Why Play the Riftbreaker, explaining the appeal, and I show it off anytime someone asks me what I'm playing when we do Mutiny Monday. Mutiny Monday is a thing we started where every Monday I play usually the Riftbreaker, but a game where there is Twitch integration. And people in chat, like every 5 minutes, they'll get a vote. Like, type A if you want to drop a tornado on Muck. Type B if you want to take half his money. Type C if you want to break his legs. And Flute's always like, break his legs! So it keeps the audience entertained because they get to be involved. And also, I have gotten to be a decent player at it, and I'm fighting for my life and playing this game. We've done multiple playthroughs of it. There is like over 400 episodes of Mukluk versus Chat on Mukluk Plays. Love the game. It's a great freaking game. There is no game. It's hard to explain. It is hard to explain. I'm going to say it was fun. So you boot it up, and there's like an AI voice that's like, welcome to the game. And you try to play the game, and it's like, oh, there is no game. I'm sorry. You got robbed. But listen, we really need the money, so please don't refund it on Steam. Please just close the game, and in your heart of hearts, please just don't refund it. But then you can start like poking things. So like there's a sign that says there's no game, and you can like look behind the sign, and it'll be like, what are you doing? And you can start messing around, and you just keep going deeper and deeper into this rabbit hole of what's going on and why there's no game. And it's a very fun tale, incredible music, and it was a very enjoyable evening. But there was no game. It's really hard to explain without spoiling it, but I very much enjoyed the experience. So I'm going to put that there. It kind of sounds like Stanley Parable. There's some overlap. Yeah. So if any of you, if it's usually probably a few bucks. If any of you are interested, I recommend it. It was fun. Faster Than Light. I'm gonna say I didn't finish it, but it was fun. I did a patron. Basically, did the thing where they hijacked the stream for an evening, and I played it for like one evening. I had a few good rounds and a few terrible rounds, but I only played it one night. It was an interesting game. There was some parts about it I liked and some I didn't. Like, I found this one race. I was like, oh man, I love playing these guys. These are awesome. And then like I died, and then I lost the part that I loved. I'm like, oh, it's like a roguelike. I got to start over now. Dang. And then I could never get that one thing that I loved again. So I was like, oh, dang it. But it was all right. I definitely didn't like hate it. I just didn't love it as much as any of the other things I was playing. Manor Lords. Manor Lords got a lot of spotlights on it because it's like a single developer has made this one incredible game. It's an early access, so I need to put it here. And I finished what they have available, and it was fun for what it was. You're running a little colony, like a little medieval colony, and occasionally there's bandits and stuff like that, and you can hire knights to defend them, or you can like round up the townspeople and do like a little like emergency force, things like that. Combat is not the main aspect of the game. The main thing is absolutely like building the town or towns, and the combat is just something that happens from time to time. So it's important to have good expectations if you are trying to get into that. It's an insane passion project. Yeah, again, because it was made by one dude. Here, hang on a second. Let me hop over to Steam so we don't make Noxxi do this one. Manor Lords. Okay, here we go. Store page. So Manor Lords, like all of this, and you can go down into first person and be like one dude walking around the town. But all of this was made by one guy. It's just like his passion project, as someone said, over the years. But like, so you play it from above, and like, let's say you start 3 projects, but your town only has 1 ox, and they all require the ox. They're gonna have to wait their turn, But you do all of this. Someone says 2 guys. It might have been. I could be mistaken. I thought it was 1 guy. But there's different seasons that affect your crops and stuff like that, and people setting fire to your area. But yeah, really solid little game. People on Steam loving it right now. Currently on sale for $28, down from $40, but it has been enjoyable. What it was, but put that in early access. Return of the Obra Dinn, a murder mystery. You have a boat. You have this weird magical monkey paw thing. You go on the boat, and if you touch a remnant of someone who died, let's say like a bone or something, you see the moment they died. And in that moment, you can see everything that was going on around them in that frozen image in time. So you could be like, okay, in this moment, the guy with the eye patch was over there. The guy with the hat pulled the trigger. The captain died. There's some guy up in the rigging. And so you've got basically a boat and no one's on it. And you got to figure out what happened to everyone there. And did anyone commit crimes? Like, the first mate killed the captain in a mutiny, stuff like that. This guy fell overboard and was never seen again. Stuff like that. But is basically this boat went through hell. And we're talking like mythological stuff, like monsters and things like that. And you have this weird magical artifact that lets you kind of bounce between frozen flashes of time to figure out what happened. And I gotta tell you, it was extremely satisfying when you solve how the final guy died. Because basically you're trying to find the cause of death for the entire crew. And I'm gonna say very high B tier, above Assassin's Creed. It's one of those things you probably only play once because then you know all the answers, but it was a very unique, unforgettable experience. Very good. And someone said the art style gives headaches. I can see that. Yeah, the art style they did, I'll show it just for a few seconds. Well, it looks like that. You see that banner? The art style in the game looks like that when you're looking around, that weird black and white. And see, here's a frozen image in time of someone dying. And again, you can move around the ship and see what was going on all around the ship while time was frozen. And what you need to do is basically fill out these cause of death things for the whole crew to solve the game. And the story is quite good. So I want to put that there. No Man's Sky. I I didn't finish it. Okay. I played like 2 or 3 hours. I got gifted it, and people asked me to try it. I tried it, and I'll be honest, I was bored out of my mind. Not in the kind of way that I'm going to leave a negative review or anything like that. I know people love this game. I just couldn't get into it. No Man's Sky, I played like 2 or 3 hours, and I was so bored. And to me, that just says that I'm not the target audience. I'm not saying that they need to change anything about it, but I was just so incredibly bored during the hours I played it, and I put it down. That's it. That's all I got for that. Silent Hill 2. A lot of people told me this was super scary. I disagree. Probably a product of its time. You know, Pyramid Head, all that stuff. Maybe back when Silent Hill 2 first came out, it was really spooky. But I played the remaster, and it was like, dude, I'm weak to horror, and this is nothing. I mean, it was all right for what it was, but I mean, any game where when the monster scares you, you can kill it is not that scary. The monster would be like, bleh, and I'm like, oh my god. And I was literally holding like a 2x4 half the game and just killing the things that would scare me. So it was not bad. It was not bad. Mechabellum. Early access, I believe. I did a 2-hour sponsored stream for them. Really, really enjoyed the game. It is basically a game where you put each unit has its own AI, and you put them down on the field, and then you don't see what the opponent's doing, and then you say go. And then both of you are hands off, and your units clash, and they do whatever pre-programmed things that you said for them to do. And then you would you take that information, like, okay, last turn he had these units here, and you make changes to your side, and then let go again. And it was really solid. It kind of felt like I was playing with StarCraft Terran units, but more. There was a lot more. So that was a very fun game, but it's EA, so I'm just going to leave it in the EA section. Are the games left to right your enjoyment? Yeah, further to the left is more enjoyment. Further to the right was less, but in that tier. God of War Ragnarok. I think I got to say loved it. I think I got to do something like this. God of War Ragnarok, Dad of Boy, was an incredible story and really good gameplay too. The story was so good. Like, dude, this is part of the reason, like, I played Janthir Wilds, and then I was playing Spider-Man and God of War Ragnarok, and I'm like, dude, it doesn't hold a candle to these. Like, God of War Ragnarok, the story was just so freaking good. What's below early access? Shame. It was an emergency tier. These games, to me, were so poor that I think they were made by people that did not play the previous games in the series. And they have made me possibly lose interest in franchises that I was playing for 20 years. Okay, next up, Poppy Playtime. The Poppy Playtime horror games are pretty good. Most of them are quite short. It's like this one's an hour, and then the next one is like 2 hours. The next one's 2 hours. Like there's like chapters, and I think chapter 3 or chapter 4 came out this year. So I'll say finished it, and it was fun. It was a cool little story, very, very short. But it kind of scratches the same itch as Indigo Park, but of course, Indigo Park is just got like a one free chapter, and this is like the 4th one. But yeah, only complain about Dad of Team. Oh yeah. In God of War Ragnarok, the kid has a really bad habit of shouting the answers to puzzles before giving you time to do the puzzle yourself. That was unfortunate. Veil of the Witch. I did 2 sponsored streams for them. Very solid game. It's not done yet. It's a turn-based game where you move enemies around in a fight, and you're like, okay, I'm going to use my movement to move forward, and I'm going to hit that guy. Kind of like, okay, in terms of combat only, kind of like Baldur's Gate 3 or Divinity Original Sin 2. But it's in between fights. It's kind of like what is that genre? Like Inscription. Where you've got like, you're going on a path. It'd be like, do we go left or right? And you choose right, and then you're in a combat. And then you make another choice, and so on and so on and so on. So it's kind of like a roguelike. And they've got a really cool lore story reason for why you keep coming back to life when you die. But it is not done yet, so we need to put that into early access. Pyre. I played Pyre because it was made by the same company that made Bastion and Hades. And I'd say low B tier. Honestly, the story was the coolest part about the game. The actual gameplay with the pyres, I didn't love. But the story kept me there all the way to the end. And it was one of those where choices matter, and based on what you do, very different people make it out to the end. Slime Rancher. Once again, I was bullied in chat by someone screaming Slime Rancher every single day until finally I did it just to shut them up because I got it for free on Epic. I played Slime Rancher. It was a cute little game. It was kind of fun. I played it to the end. Very simple thing. My kid loves it. My kid has played Slime Rancher 1 and 2. S tier, not S tier. I'm going to say it was fun. I'm going to say low B tier. It was fun. I never really got passionate about it because after a while it becomes just like chore simulator. But it was fun while I was there. Papers, Please. I finished it. I don't mean that in a bad way. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it either. But Papers, Please is literally you're in a booth and people come up and they're like, I want to enter Ostionka. I want to enter your town, whatever the made up country's name was. I don't remember. But they want to enter your city and you've got to check their stuff. Like, some of it's easy, like their age, their gender, their height. Does this picture match them? And if you let them in and anything was wrong, you get punished. But you also get paid based on how many people you let in. And then each night you decide, like, do I have enough money to turn on the heat for my family or to feed my family? Or, did Timmy get sick? Does he need medicine? Stuff like that. It's a goofy little game, and you just play like the border guard, and you do paperwork the whole game. But it's a very short game. We played it one evening, and the memes were strong, so we got through it. But it was something. V Rising. I'm gonna say, compared to these, low S tier. V Rising, I think I have done like 4 playthroughs of. Hang on. V Rising, 264 hours. Yeah, we did multiple playthroughs in early access, and when it fully came out, I did another playthrough. Then I did a playthrough on Brutal. I actually have a video on my YouTube channel called like what 7 hours of V Rising looks like, where it's a montage that Noxxi made for me of me slamming my face into Brutal Dracula fight over and over for 7 hours until I got it. Very, very challenging. And then I played the whole game again on normal with my son, and we got halfway through Brutal together. So I've done many playthroughs of this. Very, very solid game. Did Papers, Please get you copyright claims on the music as well? I think it might have, yeah. But it was such a short game, it just happened once, so it was like kind of like whatever. Rogue Legacy 2. Didn't finish it, but it was fun. It's a roguelike, so you die, you have to start completely over. There are some things that carry over between runs, like little upgrades that you get. And it's a very interesting premise because the whole idea is every time you go in, you're the kid of the last one who went in. Like, it's the family tradition to run off and leave your kids and die in the dungeon. So you go in there and you're like, oh yeah, my great grandparent was the first guy that died in the dungeon, and now I'm here with a frying pan. Yeah, Chef was actually one of the classes. But Rogue Legacy 2 was a fun game. I never fully cleared it, but I did a lot. Nobody Saves the World. I'm going to say finished it, and it was fun, but it was less than these. Nobody Saves the World is about a guy who gets his hands on a magic wand that he probably shouldn't be allowed to have, and he's a nobody. That's why he is nobody, and he saves the world. And the wand lets you shapeshift into things. And then you can start mixing it up. Like, you can shapeshift into an archer, you can shapeshift into a horse, and then you can combine them and shapeshift into a horse that spits arrows. So you can make some really weird powers in the game, and there's all kind of weird shapeshifts that do different things. And you don't wear pants. That's right. Nobody doesn't wear pants. So it was a fun game and a very interesting little thing. And that was actually the most recent review that I've done. Mechabellum isn't in EA. Is Mechabellum not in EA? I'll take your word for it. Okay, if I'm going to say that, then I'll say didn't finish it, but it was fun. All right. Pathfinder Kingmaker. Finished it, loved it. But I'm going to put it in the lower end of loved it, because it became kind of a slog at the end. Like, the end game was definitely the weakest part of it. Not the final fight, but the end game of Pathfinder was definitely like a slog. Raid Shadow Legend, yeah, I still have Raid installed from a thing I did for them a long time ago. So I did enjoy it. I've played Pathfinder Kingmaker. I played Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. I've played Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. All were from the same company, Owlcat, and I've loved all of them. And this one was great, and we finished a playthrough of that earlier this year. Magicraft. I don't know if it's still in EA. It was in EA when I last played it, because I know that more content has come out for that since I last played it. It is another roguelike where you like make your own magic and try to get through it, and if you die, you have to start all over. I got to the final boss in EA and died on it, and I was like, okay, that's the farthest I've gotten on any of my runs. I'm just going to stop there until they add more. But I played it in EA. Path of Exile. I played the, what is it, Settlers of Calgar season that came out. And it was pretty cool. I was already a huge fan of Path of Exile, so I'm definitely going to put that in S tier. I've already played a few thousand hours of it. So really enjoy that game, and that was just me playing like the newest season. Path of Exile 2, Early Access. Really enjoyed it. I have a separate video on my channel for PoE 2 if you want to know my in-depth thoughts on that game. It is very good. It has some problems. It is an early access. It is not a bug-free experience. It is not balanced and stuff like that. But what I have seen is really fun. And I played like 60 hours of it. And if you like PoE, I think you'll probably like PoE 2. And it adds a lot more systems that once they build upon those systems, I think, in my opinion, it's going to be just a straight upgrade. What was this one? Was this Wants to Die? What was the full name of this one? Hold on. Nobody Wants to Die. This is about a future where rich people can basically just have their consciousness moved into a new body. And like, dude, it's crazy. Imagine someone who's poor, but they're hot. And they can basically rent their body to someone else. So you move the poor person into this old body, and the old person gets to pay them and take the new body for a spin for like a year. And then they come back and switch back, and the young person that was in the old body gets paid a lot for doing it. Like, that's the kind of thing that's happening in this game. You're a detective, who's this guy sitting up here, and you're trying to solve this mystery. Now, the reason it's called Nobody Wants to Die is usually if someone dies, as long as this stuff in their head is intact, it can be moved to a new body and just bring them right back up. You know, it's like you just move their consciousness to the new body and you can get them back up. However, someone is actively killing people and damaging that thing so they can't be brought back. And it's scaring people because no one's truly died in a long time. And it was a short game. We beat it in 6 hours. It was an enjoyable ride, but it was over very quick. So I'm gonna say I finished it. It was fun. It was just a really short game. Marvel's Midnight Suns. Definitely high B tier. Maybe like right there. Marvel's Midnight Suns was a game where it's turn-based, but it was kind of like playing XCOM on the missions, but with superheroes. You know, like you could knock an enemy into another enemy and do damage to both of them, or you could fight them with the terrain. You can like either pick up things from the terrain and throw it at the enemy, or throw the enemy at the terrain, things like that. But it was with superheroes, so you could have like Wolverine or Iron Man or Ghost Rider or Blade on your team, and also it was a card game at the same time. So it was a mixture of a lot of things. They did it pretty well. There was some parts of the game I didn't love, like in between the fights when you were running around and like solving a little mystery and doing friendship games. Like literally, your combat effectiveness with Wolverine would be stronger if you went to book club with him. I'm not making that up. So some of the between combat situations were like, what? But some of them were kind of cool. It was a very big disparity sometimes. But overall, I enjoyed the game, and I made a positive video about it. Timberborn. Is this an early access still? Still EA. Okay, chat. If this one was not EA, I would put it right here. This game was really enjoyable. Timberborn is a game about beavers. It is a game about beavers. And you control a city, kind of like playing SimCity, but which are these little beavers. And the main problem is water doesn't keep flowing, and you need water to survive. So you make a dam to keep all the water from leaving, but of course, eventually the dammed water runs out too. So basically, you trying to survive and thrive, and also make sure that you have enough water, stored to survive droughts. And let's see, let me fast forward a bit here, see if it will show it. Yeah, they're right there, deadly droughts. So like the plants die. You can also make beaver robots, which take out high maintenance, but they can work without needing food and stuff like that. So these are very, very intrepid little beavers. But this was really, really fun. This is a very enjoyable game. I played it on stream, and then I played it for tens of hours more off stream. But it's an early access, but I'm going to say that that's like an S tier game. Transistor. Again, made by the same people as like Bastion and stuff like that, which is the reason I played it, just like Pyre. I would say I liked it more than Pyre. So I would say this is a little better than that one. I would say it was a little better than that one. Again, I loved Bastion. I loved Hades, so I tried playing their earlier games. Transistor was all right. Pyre was just loved the story, didn't love the gameplay. Stormgate, early access. Stormgate is, of course, the game that many in the StarCraft community are hailing as it's going to be the new StarCraft. A lot of folks saying that it's made by, some of the people that were on the StarCraft team, and that they think it's going to be really good. They have high hopes for it. I played some matches of PvP. Like, I love StarCraft and Warcraft more for the campaigns than for the PvP aspect, but I enjoy watching the PvP aspect. I played a bunch of PvP games with the stuff that they had available at the time, and it was enjoyable. Don't know if it's going to replace StarCraft, but I really enjoyed what I played. But it's an early access. It's not done yet. Soulstone Survivors. Love it. Finished it. Love it. Now, I say finished it, but it's a Survivors game, so you've just played until you get bored. I've seen all the maps. I've cleared all of the stuff. There's like near infinitely scaling difficulty, and they keep adding more and more stuff to it. Really, really enjoy it. It's EA? Okay, well then it would be loved it if not EA. All right, Spellforced. I finished it. No, actually, I didn't. I didn't finish it. So didn't finish it for negative reasons. This is one of the only games that I made a review video that was negative. This was a weird mess of a game, and it's called Spellforce Conquest of Io. And many folks have left comments under that video saying this looks like the worst version of Spellforce I've ever seen. Need to rank all the early access games on their own tier list. Well, I haven't explained my thoughts on each of them as I did this. But Spellforce Conquest of Io is a weird mess of a game, and I kept restarting it and trying to do the tutorial over and over and over. Like, how many hours did I put into this before I gave up on it? Hang on. Let's show me the facts. 20 hours. 20 hours! I tried to get this freaking thing to work, but I could not get it to run well. So if you want the full details, watch the review video for Spellforce on my channel, but it just did not have a great experience. Undead Inc. I'm not sure if that was early access. This was a sponsored game. It's not early access. Okay. I will say didn't finish it. God, it was very... I guess I'd put it in negative reasons. And the negative reason is just that I didn't have that much fun. Yeah, I did a sponsored stream for it. It was all right, but, I wasn't having a blast. Like, I would rather play almost anything else. So I didn't continue playing it, so it was all right, but it just wasn't for me. Stranded Alien Dawn. All the way to the top. Stranded Alien Dawn, fantastic game. I have played through every single possible mode on that game on maximum difficulty. There are many Stranded Alien Dawn playlists on my second YouTube channel. Fantastic game. Love it. It is a colony sim, and you're trying to get people alive. The main game mode is some people are on a spaceship, and they're on an escape pod. It crashes into the planet. You're trying to survive. Survive the wildlife. Survive temperature. Survive need for shelter. First winter is brutal. Survive food and tech your way up to when you can call for help. Like, you got to tech up to like a space station, and they keep adding more and more to the game. Like, I would say this game has the best early access I have ever seen. Even in the earliest version of the game that I played, it was basically bug-free. And then they added more. They added more worlds. They added more game modes. They added the Tame and Train update where you could like now tame animals. They added the military update where they added like mechs and stuff. They kept like every time I was like, this is it. This is the whole game. And they're like, nope, here's more. And they just kept adding more. And freaking love it. Highly recommend. And I'm putting that way up there. Let's see. Still Wakes the Deep. Horror game. I'm going to say I finished it. There was 2 moments in the game where the main character makes a judgment call, which was the stupidest bleeping thing I've ever seen. And I was just like, what? Why are you doing X? Why don't you just do Y here? And then someone would die. And I'm like, but it was a beautiful game. 90% of it was pretty good. There was a few moments that were just like really dumb. Let's see. What is this? Warcana. Warcana was a pretty cool experience. Warcana, I don't remember if that one is early access or not. Let me see. Warcana, let me click on that. No, it is a full version. Warcana is this game where you basically build structures that constantly send attackers at your enemies, or you build towers to defend yourself from your enemy's attackers. And it gets to really high levels of stuff, and it's also like a card thing at the same time. While I was playing it, the developer of the game popped into the chat and was like, hey, thank you for playing my game. It was such a sweet moment. And he gave some keys of the game out to chat. And it was just like, I think at that time, we were the biggest streamer that had ever tried his game. And he was like really appreciative. And he gave us a bunch of game keys and stuff. It was really sweet. The game itself didn't finish it, but I was having fun. I would probably put it right there. I was enjoying it. I just didn't clear the whole game. It does get quite challenging later on, but it was pretty solid, and it's a cheap indie game if any of you are interested in that. The Quarry, another horror game. Trying to be fair because I don't really love horror, but the story, I love a good story. Probably put it above House of Ashes. Probably put it right there. Quarry was pretty good. The storytelling was pretty good. It has like choices matter, like people can die and the story will continue if you screw up. And yeah, it was a solid Halloween horror game. Not as scary as this guy jump scaring me with a bat every 5 minutes, but still, pretty solid. Binding of Isaac. I'm gonna put, okay, I'm gonna get so much hate for this. I'm gonna put this in didn't finish it for negative reasons. However, the negative reason was simply I wasn't having fun. I played it for a few hours. I just wasn't enjoying it, and that's it. I just, it was a roguelike. I've played many roguelike games in here, and this one just didn't do it for me. I just wasn't enjoying Binding of Isaac. Also, I was constantly having to open the wiki to look up what the hell things did, because there was a lot of weird stuff. It's like, do you want to pick the liver or the gangrene pouch? And I'm like, okay, you got to tab out and look up what each of these items do, because I had no idea. I was new to the game. So it was, I just didn't have fun playing that one. Last Spell. I'm tempted to put it up here. Definitely very high A tier. Last Spell, really solid game. It's a turn-based, keep a city alive roguelike. If the city falls, it's gone, and you got to start with a new one. You get random people that heroes to defend your town, and at the end of each wave of enemies, you get like a bit of money from looting them, and you can hire more people, or get better equipment for the people you have, or repair the walls, or build ballistas, automated defenses. Basically, it's like at the end of each round, you get a finite amount of materials. What do you do with them? And the people all have weird quirks. You might have one that's just extra tough, or you might have one that's nearsighted. And rarely you'll get one with one arm. I remember one of the hardest levels I did, I had 3 people, and 2 of them had one arm. So in total, amongst 3 people, I had 4 arms to defend my city. That was one of the toughest rounds I did. That was freaking stupid. But it was a very, very enjoyable game. A lot of replayability. The stuff, other than the bosses, the stuff changes each time. The bosses are very, very tough. So yeah, highly recommend. I've got a very glowing review on that one as well, so highly recommend that one. Warcraft 3. I was feeling nostalgic, chat, and I went back this year and we played Warcraft 3 and Warcraft 3 The Frozen Throne, the campaigns on maximum difficulty, and I loved it. I loved it. Probably put that above Kingmaker. Not much else to say. It's an older game. I just wanted to play it again. I went back. I've been watching a lot of Grubby lately. Grubby's another streamer who does a lot of Warcraft 3 stuff, and I was like, I want to play this again. So we did a playthrough of all of that, and I had a blast. Next up, Stardew Valley. The only negative thing is I wasn't enjoying it. Stardew Valley, I went into it thinking like, okay, we're gonna like build up a farm. I can enjoy building up stuff, right? Like I play City Builders. Stranded is building up a colony, which includes farms. I didn't realize half of Stardew Valley was a freaking dating sim. It's fine. That's just not what I was there for, right? I tried Stardew Valley, and I gotta say, I remember that stream was huge. There was a lot of people there that were hoping I was gonna love it, and it just wasn't for me. It was very interact with the town and the people and stuff like that, and I found the dungeon, which apparently a lot of people that play Stardew hate the dungeon, and I was just like, oh, this is my favorite part. I just spent all my time in there. But yeah, I just say it wasn't for me for like the long term. Let's see. Zenless Zone Zero. This is an ya game for sure. Lots of anime, lots of curvy people. Zenless Zone Zero, I was sponsored for 2 hours to play this one. And I will say, in terms of cutscenes, it has some of the most gorgeously rendered cutscenes I have seen in games in a while. Like, it's stunning. Like, it's clear where they burned the budget, right? But in terms of actual gameplay, I really wasn't into it. I didn't hate it. I just wasn't into it. I really needed a tier. This is didn't finish it because So I'll put it here, but I guess the negative reason is just like I didn't fall in love with the gameplay loop. Like the combat, it's the kind of game where you control one person at a time, but you bring a team. So at any moment you hit a button and just like your first person teleports out and your second person teleports in that exact spot. So you'll be like, blam, 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 change to the sword guy, sword, 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 change to the shotgun chick, blam, blam, blam. And it's just like, in my mind, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Why are we all just in the position of one person and teleporting in and out? Like, I realized, like, that's just a genre of game I've never really interacted with before. And I was like, why aren't we all here? Or one of us here? Why are we all just taking turns in this one position? Like, I couldn't get into the gameplay loop. Story was great. Cutscenes were amazing. Couldn't get into the gameplay. All right, let's see. Space Marine 2. I only played it through once, but holy crap, I loved it. Oh my god, that was they did so good, man. They did so good. I was introduced, it feels like just a year or two ago, I was introduced to Warhammer. And I mean, anything Warhammer, right? And since then, I have played quite a few Warhammer games. And this one was amazing. It was fantastic. I loved it. It was very enjoyable. It was so cool getting in there because, like, in Total War Warhammer 3, I've learned a lot about the different gods, like Tzeentch and stuff. And granted, this is fantasy Warhammer. This is the sci-fi 40k Warhammer. But there's a lot of overlap. So, like, we were in there, and I was recognizing units. And I'm like, is that Tzeentch? Like, is that a Chosen of Tzeentch? Like, is that the Changer of Fates or whatever he's called? Like, I was recognizing a lot of the monsters before they announced them. And it was really cool. And they did a great job with this one. Warhammer Vermintide 2. Another game that we have played on many Mutiny Mondays. This game is one where chat can mess with it while we play it. Similar to Helldivers. I love the game, and if I had like peak viewership when I played it, I'd probably play it very often. But I felt like my audience got bored of it. Because if you watch me play it on Sunday, it looks the same as when you watch me play it on Thursday. So I kind of phased it out, and I occasionally do it for Mutiny Monday, but I still love the game, but I don't play it as often anymore just because, like, as a creator, I feel like, you know, people were getting bored of that and wanted to see something else. Let's see. We won't get bored if you play the new Versus mode more where you play the rat. I admit, like, we tried that during the alpha version of it, and it was a nightmare. We haven't tried it since they supposedly fixed it. Yakuza 0. Yakuza 0 is a very dated game. And I played it on keyboard and mouse, which it does not recommend, but I played it on keyboard and mouse. And they were right. The controls were absolute ass. They were they were awful. The controllers were awful. And however, the story was amazing. The story had me completely hooked. But the controls were so bad that I didn't want to do any side content because I just wanted to tunnel vision the main story. And that's it. And also, Tomanson sent me an eye patch when I was playing it, and also that raunchy looking coat that Majima has, and also a t-shirt. So the next time I play a Yakuza game, I'll need to dress up for it. So I've got a bunch of weird stuff. But yeah, it was, the story made it all worth it. But the actual gameplay and the controls were just ugh. So like I did as little side stuff as possible because of that. That's the reason why. 40k Rogue Trader. God. Very, very high A tier. Very high A tier. 40k Rogue Trader, made by Owlcat, same company that did Pathfinder Kingmaker and Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. I love both of them. I was already sure I was going to love this because I love their previous games and I have loved the Warhammer stuff I've learned, and it nailed it. It absolutely nailed it. And I know a lot of other people have enjoyed it too because of my videos where I do the game reviews. The one for 40k Rogue Trader has some of the highest views of any of them. So it was well received. Very proud of the company and how far they've come, but it's a very enjoyable game. It's a turn-based RPG, lot of storytelling, choices matter, reading. By the end, you can basically be a for the Emperor, you know, very devout, or you could be a total psychopath, and they're trying to kill you because they don't trust you, stuff like that. It's a very, very good story-driven Warhammer game. Very good. Don't spit on my ship. That did happen once, yes. All right. I can't see the name. What was this one? Do you guys remember what this one was? It's a something Survivors, and he's wearing like a pineapple or something. Oh, it's Twilight. Okay, Twilight Survivors. Thank you. Twilight Survivors. It's similar to Vampire Survivors, Soulstone Survivors, like those, but it does have some of its own niche things. It was fun. I played it for a few days before I felt like I was like, okay, I've tried every character and I've tried every map. I'm good. So I'm going to say I finished it, which is kind of half true, but it's a Survivors game. It goes forever. I'm going to say I had fun. But definitely not so much fun that I played it for like tens of hours. Trials of Mana. Oh god, this one. Trials of Mana was a game I think Shugo sponsored me to play for one night. And I was like, you know what? This is kind of silly fun. I'll keep playing it. I'll keep playing it. And the character I played was this girl that was like a hobbit or something. Because like all the other people were like, let's say they're 6 feet tall, and this one girl was like 3 feet tall. I don't know if she was a gnome or what. But she was like the closest thing to a healer the party had. But she also had a flail. So she just ran around beating things with a flail. And because she was so short, she was basically hitting everything in the butt. And it was a silly experience. And of course, they're little anime people and stuff like that. The story was pretty meh, you know. The enemy is going to destroy the world. We need to go to the Mana Island and find the Mana Tree and perform the Trial of Mana to summon the Mana Fairy Mana Queen, and then she can restabilize the mana and we can save the Mana world. And it was like, if you took a shot every time they said mana, you'd be dead by the end of the tutorial. So it was a lot. However, I gotta admit, in terms of like combat, I was able to use Guild Wars 2 controls, and the combat was kind of fun. Like, the combat carried the... Like, I've told you of a lot of games here where the story carried the game despite the combat. This was a game where the combat carried the game despite the story. So I'm going to say I finished it, and it was fun. I'm going to put it down here a bit. But, yeah, it was all right. This was Wind something. Hang on, what is that game? I think that's Wind Blown. That's Wind Blown. Wind Blown, we cleared it's an early access. We cleared it. It took like 5 hours. I had a lot of fun. I would be happy to jump back in and play more of it when they add more to the game. Right this second, I would probably put it in mid B tier. I'm having a stroke. B tier being fun tier. I'd put it in the middle of that. That's Wildermyth. Wildermyth was a game a patron sponsored me to play one night, and we did that. It is a picture's 1,000 words. Hold on. Wildermyth is a game where the whole game looks like a storybook, and you make decisions that make changes, and the story moves around. But it looks like this, almost kind of like looking at Paper Mario versus normal Mario. It was pretty cool. It was pretty interesting, but at the same time, I was playing other things that I was just more interested in. So I will say it was fun, but I didn't finish it. So I'm going to put it in didn't finish it, but was fun. World of Warcraft. I was one of the people that got the privilege of playing in a $10,000 tournament for Plunderstorm. And I was, gosh, like out of 80 people, I was in like 20th place or something. So I needed to score really high to get that 10 grand. And by the end of round 1, I was in the top 10. But we fell off hard after round 1, unfortunately. They did a scoring system that they regretted, they being Blizzard, where you got more points for staying alive than you did for kills, which meant that everyone just tried to find a corner to hide in. So, like, one of the people that actually won a ton of money that day had 0 kills in any of the rounds we played. Not a single one. They literally hid in a tower the whole time. There was a few funny moments where, like, I used a special item I found to turn into a bush, and then someone came and crouched in the bush that I had transformed into, so they were using me to hide, and they didn't know I was a player. That was one of the funniest moments in the tournament. Someone was using me to hide. They didn't realize I was a person, and I just had to hold very still because they thought I was an actual bush. So there was a few really funny moments. That was how I met Fairlight. Some of you may remember, Fairlight. I've done a few collabs with him since then. He's an awesome guy. I met him because he was my assigned partner in the Plunderstorm tournament. So he was pretty cool, and I've done some Total War stuff with him since then. In terms of Plunderstorm itself, I played WoW for like 10 years, okay? And I enjoyed it. It was crack for me at the time. That was a long time ago. I haven't played it recently. I reinstalled it just for the Plunderstorm tournament. So I'm very fluent with WoW. But for Plunderstorm, I would say, like, I saw everything in Plunderstorm. I'd say it was fun, but I'd put it down here. Yeah, and I'm really just grading it as Plunderstorm. It was just it's a repetitive PvP game mode. It was all right. It was all right. Peekaboo team got screwed over because of that. Yeah, Peekaboo. Now, honestly, to be fair, everyone else got screwed over because Peekaboo's team was there, right? They had teams with people like Fairlight who had never played an MMO. He did not know how to turn his character. I had to tell him you have to hold down the right mouse button and move your mouse to steer your character. Okay? You had some people in there. Now, he made a huge improvement because we practiced like every day for a week. You had some people in there like, him and Shy Lily that had never played before. And then you had people in there that were like the top PvPers in the country that were fighting in the same tournament. So I don't think their goal was ever to have an even fair battle. I think their goal was just to make it entertaining, to say, hey, here's Plunderstorm, please like it. Right? So, but Peekaboo's team was like the one that dominated everyone in terms of kills. They just rolled everybody. But then at the end, they fell down to, I think, second place because another team did get a kill on them, but that team had more hiding in corners than they did kills. So the team that mostly hid did that. So that was that. The last one is Animal Well. I honestly don't feel it's fair for me to put this anywhere. And the reason is I played Animal Well for like 30 minutes, and it was on a day that I was honestly I wasn't in a good headspace. And I played it for like 30 minutes. I was like, guys, I'm really not having any fun at all right now. And I was like, I think I need to just take a break. And they were very understanding, and I put it down, and I haven't opened the game again since. All I know is in the first 30 minutes, I was bored out of my mind, and I didn't continue it. So I'm not going to say, like, my understanding, I believe it's a very well-ranked game. Like, I think review-wise on Steam, it's doing very well. All I can say is I didn't have fun in the 30 minutes I played it. What game? Animal Well. Animal Well. So that was a day that I think I tried Binding of Isaac that day, decided I didn't like it, then tried Animal Well, and then I was like, guys, I'm still not having any fun. And then I went on to just something that I had played before. It was just a day that I was just I was not a very entertaining individual that day. Deep Rock Survivors is on the list. It's in early access right here. Yeah. And that is the last one. Holy crap. Hold on, I want to double check this. Yeah. Okay, so 111, but we didn't do Animal well. And there was a couple of dupes I deleted before. So I think it was 110. I think it was 110. I'll count it up again later. But I missed Grim Dawn. We didn't play Grim Dawn this year. We didn't play Grim Dawn this year. We played Last Epoch this year. We didn't play Grim Dawn this year. I'm sorry to hear you played Blunderstorm. I got paid for it. I got paid for it, Caldy. To be fair though, I got paid to play in the sponsored tournament. I didn't have to practice at all, but we practiced for like a year. So they ended up getting like over 20 hours of me, not 2. Happy New Year. It's midnight. Chat. It is now 2025 and we are opening it by petting Chip. Hey, Happy New Year to everyone in my time zone. Well, I need to wrap this video up here. So with that is...
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
It is not Christmas. It is not Christmas. That is every game that we played in 2024. That is every game that we played in 2024 and where we would rank them, where I would rank them. And that was awesome. Honestly, we played more than I thought I had because since I spent 800 hours hooked on Total War, I thought I played less this year. But apparently we did so many like sponsors and trials and stuff like that. We did a lot. But that was awesome. Hope you guys enjoyed the tier list and I will see y'all in the coming year.